Hey kids, welcome back to the channel. So today we'll be talking about fast fashion. So I saw this story on Twitter. A user who goes by the name Alicia took to Twitter to make a complaint about this bikini they bought at Pretty Little Thing, and she was trying to ask the company why her bikini shed so much dye, and I can show you the Twitter post. And as you can see from the images, she tested out the bikini in a sink and the water just turned completely blue. And as she went to the website of Pretty Little Thing to look at the description of the product, she caught this very interesting snippet written, "Poolside posing only." And what exactly does that mean? Is this bikini just created for Instagram models or influencers? Like what the hell is poolside posing? So she reported it to the company Pretty Little Thing, and it seems they're aware of the problem or the situation about their brands. And this is where it got me interested in how brands come up with such cheaply made and inferior quality products, and they sell this at such high prices, because this bikini in fact is 60 pounds. 60 pounds is a lot of money, and the way that they're describing it, it's like it's not safe for water. So how are you supposed to wash this thing? How exactly are you supposed to wash this thing? So as consumers, what are some of your experiences with buying some of these products from these fast fashion retailers? This tweet ignited a thread of other consumers detailing their descriptions of how they bought these particular products from this company and that company. And one user, I remember, saying that she bought this bright green bikini from a company, and then when she got into a pool, she completely just destroyed the pool because you could just see the dye of green everywhere. And she had to really apologize to the owner of the pool, and she had to pay for the towels and the bath things that she used, because the color of the bikini literally washed into this white wardrobes and towels, and it was a really not a good scene. This story led me to discover this term that is used in the fashion industry called fast fashion. Just by the name you can tell fast fashion, it's more like fast food. It's cheap, it's quickly made, and I'm no expert on this world of fashion, so I looked on YouTube and found this girl named Sarah to explain to you more about what fast fashion is. So I'll play her clip now.
So I think generally as a society, we purchase too much textile goods. Fashion, of course, can be a hobby. It could be a way you express yourself, like I mentioned. It could even be a career. But I think that the average person does not need as many clothing items as they think that they do. Nor do they need to go through clothing items as quickly as the seasons change, which is what is pushed upon us. The way we see fashion now is in no way related to how we used to see fashion like 100 years ago. It was seen as something that was needed, but not necessarily something that needed to be purchased every single year. I'm not saying we need to go back to this lifestyle of making our own clothing, but maybe we should start looking at it as something that's less disposable, because it is something that someone made. Like, it's still a garment, it's still an item of clothing, and I think they need to be cherished a little bit more. Not necessarily you have to bow down to them. It's just a shirt, you know? But I don't think that shirt should be seen as disposable. Now, generally most people don't live like this. They're not like every single season I need to get new clothing, unless it's like back to school time. But there are many people in the world that see a new trend pop up and they need to get on that bandwagon as quickly as possible, so they will then, forego the previous trends maybe and then purchase all these new trends. So I think more so people tend to follow the trends, not necessarily the seasons, although bigger fashion companies do push that we follow the seasons. But the fashion seasons, are you ready for some real tea, are merely made up for fashion companies to make money and for you to give them your money. Hence the term fast fashion. These companies churn out as many styles and trends and clothing items as they can sell them. Does that make sense? They make them as fast as they can sell them, which is very fast. The reason why it's so fast is because they make them so cheap and affordable. The cheap costs of the clothing encourage you as the buyer to buy more and more of it, which in reality really only benefits the company. You may think that you're getting a good deal or you're getting something out of it because you can buy this huge quantity of clothing items, but how many of those clothing items are going to end up in a Goodwill bag to be donated donated in the back of your closet, in a hamper somewhere, on the ground, and then in the end, in a landfill somewhere. 15.1 million tons of textile waste was created in 2013, and we simply do not have the means to get rid of that much waste. Now, it's not just the fashion companies that are pushing us to constantly be on trend, constantly buy new items, but it's also society that tells us this, and social media. Let's start with the most obvious scam on these websites. You're not actually going to be getting what you see in the photos because the photos are not actually theirs. They actually reproduce clothing items from other companies, or they find photos on social media, steal those photos, and then make a garment resembling that photo, but make it super cheap. I mean, how are their clothing items 99 cents? There are so many people being exploited here, including you, the buyer. The replica of these items are usually super cheaply made with horrible fabric, I know from experience, and sometimes the design isn't even close to what the original garment is. So let's say after you wait 4 weeks to actually get the item that you paid $2 for, and it's not anything like you see in the photo, or doesn't fit properly because their sizings are off. Good luck trying to get a refund because you won't get one. Their customer service is just terrible. So the most obvious detrimental effect that fast fashion has is their sweatshop labor. This is the one that I think most people turn a blind eye to and stay in denial because they don't want to admit that they are contributing to someone else's suffering. These workers earn little to no compensation. They work 14 to 16-hour shifts. Sometimes they even have to live there. They're not allowed to leave the building. They're unsanitary and unsafe conditions. And oftentimes these workers will die from malnutrition, exhaustion, or physical abuse. And ironically, fast fashion is not the only ones that exploit sweatshop labor. Chanel and Prada and Fendi often use this method for production, which makes me question why their prices are so high if they are going through sweatshop labor to make their items. Just because something has a high price point does not mean it is ethical or sustainable or fair trade or anything like that. So do your research about the individual companies themselves, not necessarily going on price and quality.
I think after researching this story, it's kind of opened my mind to what exactly happens in the fashion industry and how I myself can be conscious about what I buy. Like now I'm wearing H&M, but I think I want to really look into more in what I wear and the kind of brands and I support, because I would rather have the things I put on or the things I pay for not having harmed somebody else or come from forced labor or child labor or these sweatshops that are all over countries like Africa and Asia. There are certain companies that are also like trying to solve this problem of fast fashion, and such companies, I can give an example of this company called Rent the Runway, where customers can rent specific trends and fashions from this store and you give it back. And I guess it's a solution to where if you just need one item and you only wear it once, you don't actually need to own it. You can just rent it and give it back. And I've seen so many documents, and I love this idea. I love this idea of renting fashion, because we all like good, and fashion is a way we all express ourselves, and it's only right and good for environment if we can, I guess, minimize our footprint and not have to throw away clothes or make very cheaply. Like, cheap is very expensive. Cheap is very expensive. So anyway, guys, that's all from me for today. I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.